we're going to go ahead and get started. Sure. Thank you. All right, so welcome to... Okay, I have to speak louder apparently, so I'm going to talk as loud as I can. And please come closer, if as long as you can see the screens. Sit somewhere where you can see the screens comfortably. Okay. There's not a mic, so I'm just going to talk as loud as I can, and if you can't hear me, tell me. Okay, so thank you to our sponsors for today, and we have remembered to turn on recording, so that's good. And welcome to Up and Running with Drupal Commerce. I'm Frances Litt, Project Specialist at Cold Front Labs, and today we're talking about Drupal Commerce. Drupal Commerce is an open source e-commerce platform, and it is enabled on a Drupal site just like any other Drupal module. So you enable it and you turn it on just like any other module for Drupal, and it adds the data objects and user interfaces that are required for configuring a store on a Drupal website. And it's supported and enhanced by a huge number of other modules that add additional functionality to the core commerce module. So the goals for today are to understand the basic components that make up Drupal Commerce, and to learn how to configure a basic site. So we're going to be putting together a coffee shop website today. And then additionally, at the end, we're going to talk a bit more about the other options that are available for augmenting the core commerce module. And that's basically by other modules that are available. Okay, so briefly before we get into our site building, our store building today, we're going to talk about some of the basic components that we're going to touch upon. The first one is the idea of the store. So a store in Drupal Commerce is what controls the billing and shipping countries that are available to users during checkout. And it also is where you set the currency for the store and the taxes that are applicable for that store. These are going to be very brief little snippets of information, and we'll see more about this when we're configuring the site afterwards. The next concept we want to talk about is the idea of a product. A product is the thing being sold. In our case, we're going to sell a product called Snow Squall Medium Roast Coffee Beans. And there are various components that make up a product, like the item that's being sold in Drupal Commerce. These kind of categories of things allow you to have a lot of flexibility over how you configure the options available for the items you're selling. So there's going to be a lot of information about how you can configure things differently because there's so many options with Drupal Commerce. Yes?
I do have a question. Are you going to start the demo with like Commerce Demo, or do you have some other kind of build program?
I have a basic site without Commerce enabled on it.
Okay, so it's just Drupal, and then you're going to add the Commerce module?
Yeah. We're going from A to Z in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is maybe why I'm talking too fast, but we'll see.
Because I have run the Commerce Demo, and it's like, just run it and just up and away and have like everything.
You'll see, there are a lot of default components that are added when you enable the Commerce module.
Okay, yeah.
And some of those we'll be doing some from scratch, and some of them will be taking the default and kind of altering it to fit the store that I want to build. And we'll talk about the various properties that are available.
That's even better. This is even better learning experience. Yeah.
It's going to be quick because we have 40 minutes.
Exactly.
So kind of what I was saying, like there are multiple components and many different options for configuring, but we're going to do like one path, and I can talk about the other options, but it's like going to have to be like fairly focused, and we can't possibly go into all the other functionality that's available because it's huge. It's a big set of features that are available.
This is going to be awesome.
I hope so. So when you're talking about pieces of products, One piece that makes up a product is the product type. A product type in terms of, it's like a general category of product. So when I want to sell a certain type of coffee beans, I need a coffee bean product type. I can add all sorts of attribute fields to that product type so that, for example, if I wanted users to be able to use search facets to search for attributes of a certain type of coffee, they would be able to search those fields, if I set up my search module or search correctly.
So this is like a product entity provided by
the way I like to think about product, yes, exactly. So
it's not like
if you think content types in Drupal,
yeah.
Product types, same kind of idea. You so first, as an admin, you're structuring, or as a site admin, your system admin, you're like structuring that site to have the skeleton of what you want to build, and then your content, your store manager, whoever, can add the products in using that framework that you've built.
Yeah.
So similar to the content types being the kind of structure of content on your site, product types are the structure of products on your site.
Awesome.
There is a bit of a difference because products also have two other things that make them up. That go into them. So there's the product type, there are product attributes. So if I am selling coffee beans, I actually want users or customers on the store to be able to select the grind that they'd like me to ship to them. They don't all want whole beans, maybe they want an espresso grind. So when they're selecting that product, they need to be able to select the grind and the weight of bag that they're purchasing. So those are considered product attributes because they're selectable options on a product. And finally, there's the idea of the product variation. And the product variation is the combination of that product, like snow squall beans, and the attributes that the customer selected. And those together make up the line item of the item that the customer is actually purchasing. And that line item has an associated SKU, so individual unique code to identify that particular product variation. So for example, the product variation in some cases could be snow squall beans with the espresso grind in the small bag. That's variation. I didn't mention it here, but in Drupal Commerce, you have the product type and you also have product variation types. So you can control fields at both levels of this hierarchy of products. Okay, another kind of component I wanted to briefly touch upon is the idea of the order. So an order is the entity containing the product variation, the quantities, and the prices of the items that a customer has said they'll purchase. And this gets submitted into the system when a customer says checkout. That creates an order. And similarly to products having product types, orders have order types. So as a person building my commerce site, I configure the fields I want associated with orders, and then when an order is created of that type, it populates those fields as appropriate. And as additional flexibility, each line item in an order, which is the combination of the product variation and the number of items, can also have a type. So you can, and I'll give you an example of what this would be. So if I'm buying a coffee mug and I would like a customized message on that coffee mug, when a user is checking out, I could have a field on my order item type that mugs are a part of. And when a customer purchases a mug, the order can show, the UI can show a field that they type in what the custom message is. So that field is not part of the product itself because it's a user-controlled and entered piece of text as part of their order when they said, I'd like to buy this cup, and yes, I want to put in a custom message. So that's an example of that. Again, we're flying through things, so if anyone has any questions, I can answer them very briefly. Let me know. All right, so then we get into the final component I just wanted to touch upon is the idea of the payment gateway. This is required to accept payments on your site. And Drupal Commerce, like in the documentation and stuff, they do recommend using an existing module or checking at least the existing modules to see what's available for your payment provider of choice, because there are already many different modules that exist for like Stripe, PayPal, Authorize.net, tons of them for different payment service providers. But you can also write your own payment gateway. Payment gateways can be like on-site or off-site. There's a lot of documentation on this that I'm not going to get into the details here because it could be a whole discussion in and of itself. The main thing to remember if you do write a payment gateway is don't store credit card information, please. Ensure that sensitive information is tokenized or passed directly to your payment provider. I mean, you know, common sense, rule of thumb stuff, but just wanted to mention that. Okay, now we get to the fun part. So we're actually going to go ahead and build a coffee store. And we have maybe half an hour, so this will be fun. All right. And please feel free to, you know, stop me if something makes, like, no sense. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I have used Composer to install the Commerce module. And you can see here, when I install Commerce Core, these are all the modules that make up Commerce Core. So we're going to start by just enabling Commerce and a couple of other ones like Product. We want to
10.2 you're running here?
I believe it's 10.2 or 10.3.
All right. Sorry.
What am I running?
10.3, okay.
10.3.
All right. It's pretty spanky then.
All right, so there we go. So Commerce, Product, Store. You need to configure a store in order to do anything else in like create products. So I'm just going to enable those modules for now, and we'll come back and add more as we need it. And it does install some other modules that are required as dependencies. So now that we've enabled the Commerce module, you can see that there's another option in your admin toolbar. And this is the like whole part of the site where you're going to be managing your e-commerce side of things on your Drupal site. I like to think about this when you go into configuration. That's very similar to going into structure for your Drupal site itself. Like this is everything under configuration is the structure of the store and site and e-commerce site that you're building. Whereas going into products and orders, this is more like going into content on the site, because products are built using the framework that you build in the configuration. And orders also depend on the framework that you put together under the configuration side of things. So we're going to go ahead and start building in the configuration side of things first. The first thing we need to do is set up a store. And we'll start by selecting a currency. Now you can see that the Canadian dollar has been added by default by Commerce. That's because my site's default country is Canada, so it just adds the Canadian dollar. I could add other currencies that are packaged with it if I want, and you can see kind of the attributes associated with them. And you can also add your own, but I don't need to do that because I just needed the Canadian dollar for our store today.
Yeah, privacy point. €1.
So the next thing we want to do, unfortunately, is set up taxes. So we'll do that.
You have privacy point then. Nobody knows.
So we'll select Canadian sales tax. That's an available plugin. You can write your own plugins for tax to have whatever taxes you need. You can see down here that this Canadian sales tax adds the different various taxes that are applicable for the provinces and territories of Canada. And the one thing I would say here is I do not want the taxes displayed in product prices, because customers are pretty used to having a price for a product and then having taxes added on top, as annoying as it is. But I think we'll follow that, that standard for our store. So we're going to unselect that. That's all we're going to configure for taxes. And finally, store types. There's an online store added by default. This is all the information that it has. I don't need anything more, but you can add fields to your stores, and you can also manage displays similar to other types of content on a Drupal site. The store has these abilities to be customized as needed. Okay, but we're going to use the default online store because that's exactly what we need, and we are not going to have multiple stores today. So now that we've configured taxes, currencies, and store types, we're good to add a store. So we're going to add Cold Front Labs coffee, and the currency for our store is going to be the Canadian dollar because we're based in Canada. We are going to set our time zone to Toronto. This is the only store, so it's going to be the default store, but if you happen to have orders that didn't know what store they should be routed to, they would go to your default store if you got into a situation where...
You probably get fancy with geolocation and get the closest store to the customer.
I'm sure you could do, could do things like that. I haven't personally configured that, but...
There's modules that do that, APIs.
We're also going to set the billing countries for our store, and also the tax country. And again, prices are entered with taxes included. Nope, we want taxes added at the end, so we're just going to save it like that. So we have set up our store, and that means we can actually set up products to sell in our store. What we're going to do first is we have to set up that framework of what a product is. We'll start with the product type. We're going to have a coffee bean product type. And these will become a little more clear in a minute, but product variation types, we'd like it to create a new product variation type to accompany this product type, so it's going to do that. Allow each product to have multiple variations. It's possible that one product type might have multiple product variations associated with it, so I'm going to allow that to be the case. And then inject product variation fields into the rendered product. When I'm displaying a product on my website, I would like it to show the fields from the variation. So I'm going to say, yes, please inject those into the rendered product. Next up, we had two different attributes that we wanted customers to be able to control when they are purchasing coffee beans. So we're going to have grind, and we'll make this radio buttons on the coffee beans variation type. And let's see, we're going to have whole beans, espresso grind. We can add a few other options. I might not have all of these options available for every type of coffee bean that I sell, but that's when we're configuring product variations themselves. We'll say which ones are available to sell for a particular product. But these are all the possible types that I want this coffee bean product type to have available in it. So then I'd like to add another attribute. I want customers to be able to select the weight of the bag they're purchasing. And so in this case, I'm just going to do 340 grams and a kg, and that's done. So we have set up the attributes and the product types. I'll briefly look at the product variation type. And this is similar to the product type in that you have the ability to add fields to it, to manage display and manage form settings. A quick example of why you might want to add a field to a product variation type is that, like, when a person is buying coffee beans that are in a 340 gram bag versus 1 kg. I might want to show a different picture when they select the 1 kg bag versus the 340. So you can put a field onto your product variation type that allows you to flip between those images when they select the different sizes of bags. For today, though, and I'm realizing I left out this step when I was configuring the product type, I'm actually going to put a couple of fields onto the product type itself. So we would like our coffee beans to have the ability to have a picture associated with them. So I'm going to add a media field, and it'll be required when I'm adding a product that I add an image to it. And then the other item I would like associated with my coffee bean product type is a roast. Oops, I forgot. There we go. So every single coffee bean that I sell has a roast associated with it. It's going to be light, medium, or dark. And so I need the store manager or whoever's entering the products to select the roast that the beans that are applicable to the beans that they're buying or that they're selling. So we'll do light is an option, medium, and dark. Okay. So this is going to be a required field too. Okay. So we have fairly quickly set up the framework for what a product is on our site, and now we can actually go and add some products, or a product, we're going to add one today, to our site. So we'll go out of the configuration section and back into what I was referring to as like kind of more of the content side of things in the commerce module. So here is where you can add content, as in your products, to the store. And we're going to add a coffee bean product called Snow Squall Medium Roast. I believe I have, yes, a description for it and a picture. That's not a picture, but that's okay. That worked. Well, you know, I can't do that. We'll do this one. All right. And let's see. There we go. And the roast is, yes, I did. Okay, there we go. Thought I put the roast in wrong. So we have our basic products now, but we have to tell the system what variations are available for this product. So we will go in and edit the product and go to the variations tab. And this is where we're putting in the exact options that customers will have when they're purchasing the product. So for now, I'm just going to put in, okay, so Snow Small Medium Roast Whole Bean 340 grams. This is an option that I want available. I'm going to put in the SKU, so this is the unique identifier. For both of these fields, you can have them auto-generate by Drupal. So the title field, it's actually an option when you're creating the product variation type that it automatically will generate the title for you when you select the attributes that are associated. I wanted to show you all the fields today just to see them, but this would disappear if you had said, like, give me automatic titles. That would make my job way easier. So you could have that, just do that. The SKU, there's a module to auto-generate the SKU based on token values. And again, that would make this a lot easier to configure because it's a little too much manual labor to just put it together like this. Okay, so we have a price, and just saying this coffee is a screaming good deal. I looked up coffee prices yesterday and I was like, whoa, I've done it.
And those variations, those are entities that you're calling.
So the product contains these variations. So when you make a product, it's possible in Drupal Commerce to just have a product and sell it, and it won't have any like attribute, like things that customers can select. But if you do have things that you want customers to be able to select, this is where you're telling it for this product, here are the available options that you can select for this particular product. Because if I had like a light roast and a dark roast, and maybe I have 10 medium roasts, right? All of those might have different options available to them. I might not sell every single grind or everything for them. Okay, so I have duplicated I'm just going to make a couple of variations here for example purposes, and bear with me because I know it's a little bit to see. So we're selling a kg. And you know what, we'll leave it at, you know, I should probably add a grind too, because we had, we'll add an espresso. You can see this is very like labor intensive if you leave it as the, you know, manually putting them in. And that looks good. Okay, so we have one product with 3 variations available. But you could have many, many more if you wanted.
Cool.
So we have set up products, and now we have to think about kind of the selling aspect of things. We have things to sell, but we have no way of selling them on our site yet. So what we're going to do is go to the commerce module and add the cart module, checkout, and payment. You need to set up a way for people to pay for this stuff, right? Okay, so we're going to install these other options. I added a couple of contrib modules too. Add to cart confirmation is going to provide a pop-up when users purchase or click purchase on an item. And I wanted to just show you guys the Stripe payment module just as an example today. So we've enabled those modules, and if we go back to the commerce side of things, you can see that we now have payment here. I already had orders because it had been installed as a dependency of the other modules that I enabled. So we'll get into configuring orders now. Similarly to configuring store types and product types, order types is configuring that structure for how orders work on the site. There's a little bit more in this. There's a default order type that we're going to just adjust today for our purposes. Basically, there is a lot in here, and we can touch on some of it. But if I miss some of it, there is documentation on all this stuff. So there's definitely more learning that I have to do on this. So there's just a lot to it. The first thing I did want to touch upon though is workflow. So there are 4 workflows that are provided by default as part of Drupal Commerce, and the workflow in terms of an order type refers to the states that an order passes through from draft until completion. So when a user adds something to their cart on your site, that's considered an order, but it's in draft mode. When they click checkout and they actually submit that order, then you have options for what happens with that cart, like with that order. Does it get completed right away the minute they purchase it and their money is sent to you and that's it? If you were selling digital products and you just had an automated system that sent them the thing they'd purchased, you could just have that default workflow where, sorry, the screens are popping in and out, aren't they? That's pretty annoying. Oh, too bad. Okay. Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
So in that case, that's what this default workflow does. It basically, the minute someone purchases something, the order is done.
I'd say the norm now with online shopping is probably validation, right?
Yes, that's
the norm. I think people would be more comfortable with that.
That's the experience you get with Amazon purchases, for example. Like you can think about you get an email when your thing has been, you get the email to say, yes, we've received this. You get notification that your product has been prepared for shipping. Then you get something that it's been shipped. So yeah, that would be more fulfillment validation. For today, I'm going to select the fulfillment workflow. So we simply are going to have one step in there where the order is submitted. On the kind of store side of things, we have to fulfill that order and ship it. And then once it's been fulfilled, we click fulfill, it's going to be considered complete. But yes, there's the validation side of things too. And again, like all of this stuff, you can write your own workflows, which is probably what some people would want to do to get the flexibility that they need for whatever their processes are on the back end of the store. Okay, so by default, you can generate a sequential order number. That's what we want to do. This order number is configurable by the number pattern module. We're not going to do that today, but it's part of Drupal Commerce. It's an option in the UI. It uses tokens to set up an order number. Order refresh, you can control order refresh. You can control the emails and whether you want someone else to get a copy of an email when an order is submitted. You can control cart settings and customize those. And then finally, there's the idea of the checkout flow. So we talked about the store's side of things in terms of their workflow for managing orders, but the checkout flow is the customer's experience when they're purchasing a product and that experience that they get walked through to purchase a product. And what we're going to do is go and take a look at that default checkout flow. Here you can see that when customers log into when customers click purchase, they get directed to a place that says, okay, do you want to log in or continue as a guest? And then they can submit their contact information and payment information. Then they review the order. Then they go through the payment process. And then there's the completion message that's sent to them or shown to them. And they can choose to register with the site to register an account if they'd like to. All of this is configurable. You can change the order that things happen as long as it makes sense. And you have various options. And again, checkout flows, you could add other options if you needed to for this. So this is, we're just going to use the default checkout flow today. But I do remember, I think there was something else that I wanted to select here. Let me see. Oh, yeah. So I chose to use the add to cart confirmation module to pop up a window when I say add to cart. So I don't want my order to display a message when an item is added to the cart because that would just be like duplicate information. So I'm going to use the other module instead. So I'm disabling this checkbox. Okay, so we've added orders. The final kind of major component that we need to set up is the payment gateway. And here there are no defaults, but if you wanted to play around with a Drupal Commerce site, you can use the example payment gateway module that's part of Drupal Commerce, and that's what we're going to use today. But I did want to show you, I enabled the Stripe payment module as well, and so I just wanted to show you what the configuration looks like for that. It's basically there's a publishable key and a secret key that you could submit for the various payment gateway payment modules. There are going to be different fields that you have to fill in to connect to those systems, basically. So for today's, though, we're using the offsite redirect with stored payment method. You can control the display name that is, well, we'll just keep it on example for now. There's a mode, tester live. Oddly, I could not find information about what this changes, but the documentation said, use test until you're in live and then use live. So I assume that this is leveraged by the payment, like the various payment modules, to allow you to have testing going on in your test environments and then actually go against your prod service when you're doing prod stuff. Okay, that's everything for this. So we've added a payment gateway. How are we doing? Is everyone keeping up with the various pieces? Good. Okay, that's great. I have to move a little quicker because we're short on time. Though I think we have leeway of about 10 minutes because we got started a bit late. What's that?
I still live in these expectations.
I might have to jump ahead a little bit. We'll see how far we get. So the first thing we want to do, I added the cart module to my site, and here that adds the cart block. So I'm going to place the block and I am going to show it if it's empty, so I'm going to place that block in the navigation of my site. That means that when I go to the site, I now have a cart item. The other thing I need to do, and we might actually skip the view configuration, but basically we have products on the site, but we have no way of like perusing them. So the way to do that is you can add a shop or store view, and you can see in the available view settings you can add products, and so you can configure a view to show products on your site. If you had a store with like a large number of products, you'd probably use a search sorry, what is it? Solar search view or something? Search API. There we go. Search API to configure, a view and then have facets to filter that view and make it really highly.
Commerce demo has that.
Okay, that makes sense. Like that would be kind of the better route to go. For today's demo, we made a view with a text search option. Okay, so what we're going to do is flip over to a version of this site. So the only other thing I didn't do is like create that view and add the menu item for shop. But if we go over to a version of this site that has been built with a little more functionality, basically this menu item here in our main navigation takes us to that shop view that we would have created. And I've just added a few more products to the store. So this, I'm not logged into the site. I'm looking at the site as an end user who would like to purchase some items. And you can imagine if you had a lot of products, you would have, facets for filtering. And that's where those attributes on product types and product variations come in really handy, because you can filter down using facets. So you can see here that the user experience for your attributes that you configured, right? So you have the whole or pour over grind, you have your different bag sizes, and you can add those to the cart. And something because I'm running out of time, I didn't mention, but when you're configuring product types, setting up the display is as simple as any other content type in Drupal. You can use Layout Builder, you can use the default layout system. It's the exact same experience. So pretty nice. Okay, so I would like to continue shopping. We'll take another look at the other things that are available. Okay, so mugs. Mugs has a different type of attribute. I'd like to buy one mug, but I could buy a set of 4. So this mugs is a good example of something that belongs to a totally different product type than the coffee beans. So now we'll go to the cart, and this is where we start walking through that checkout process. When I say checkout, this is that checkout flow that we've discussed earlier about what the customer's experience is on this site when I am purchasing an item. And you can see that you can choose a payment method. I'm actually going to use Cold Root Points because that sounds like fun. There are 2 payment providers and payment gateways on this site. Continue to review. And here you can see that HST has been added, because now that it knows where I'm located, it can calculate the tax for this purchase. And then we're going to pay. And you can see that order number that's been generated. And I have the option to sign in. So now we're going to switch personas again. I was the customer. Now we're going to go and take a look at this from the store's store manager point of view. So let's see. Here we are. If we go to our orders section, you can see that an order has now been submitted to the site. I can see what the customer purchased. And this is that order type workflow that we had looked at earlier. We chose the fulfillment workflow. So I'm going to have the ability to package up this product, ship it, and then say, yes, this item, this order has been done. And what we can do then is go and take a look at our orders, and you can see that it's been completed. Let's see. That gets us, oh wow, that's excellent service.
That was awesome.
Great. Talk about quick service.
Yeah, that's even better than drone service.
Only 13 cold brew points.
So we've kind of run through a super quick shop building experience with Drupal Commerce. But I did want to touch upon a couple of the things that I didn't have time to talk about today. So there are many, many other modules, not just the Commerce Core modules that are available to you. There are modules for managing stock. So you can have like transaction-based inventory management with like stock history and audit options. And this Commerce Stock supports multiple stores and multiple stock locations. So I haven't used it, but it sounds like quite a flexible and configurable option for managing stock. Another thing that we didn't have time to touch upon today, but is part of Commerce Core, is the promotions module. So you can actually set up sales or specific pricing rules for certain situations, and that's just all part of Commerce Core. For advertising, there are modules such as simple ads, and I think there are others as well. I just haven't looked into them in great depth. But you can configure advertising campaign, like advertise blocks and campaigns on your site. Commerce shipping. So if you need to calculate shipping rates, which would be a very important part of a site like a store like this. So shipping rate calculations, and this allows you to also use, you can enable other modules like Commerce Flat Rate and Commerce UPS to get up-to-date rate information for those providers. And finally, payment gateways. Like I said, there are many, many different options already for some fairly popular payment providers. So that is definitely something that I would suggest looking into first before you write your own custom payment gateway, is to look into what is available already in terms of payment gateways. I have a brief list of resources here. It's definitely, there are many, many resources online. The only thing I'd say is, like, when you're looking at Drupal Commerce, there's a lot of information about the 1.x version. And if you're on like 2.x, you need to make sure you're looking at the correct documentation, because there's a whole history of 1.x stuff that isn't relevant.
Right now or 3x? Is it?
I believe it's 2.
Okay.
I hope I'm right, though. I hope I'm not giving you wrong information.
Yeah.
It is very different.
1x, 2x. So there were some things that were like, it's confusing.
Things are extremely different between 1 and 2. Yeah. So you definitely need to be on the right version, because it just doesn't jive. It doesn't make sense.
This is awesome. To go through like the actual setup of all these modules is really good.
Cool. So we have time for a few questions, because I rushed that last part. But I briefly wanted to also thank Jacques Lefebvre for the content creation for Cold Front Coffee. So yes, does anyone have any additional questions? Yes.
Where do you get a link to this?
To
this slide.
Slide will be posted on the chat.
Okay, Drupal Camp. Awesome.
Presentation will be there.
Awesome. Yeah, because I definitely want to have a closer look at this. This is really good.
Awesome. Good.
Good question.
Yeah.
So when you check out, you check out as a guest.
I checked out as a guest, but I could have created an account too.
Okay.
And again, that's like all configurable about what you want your store to allow for people.
Yeah, that's good, because some people might not want to create an account.
If you don't want people creating accounts,
it knows you, and then you just faster checkouts, right?
yeah. So that's really up to like your.
That's just a one-time thing.
Yeah, one-time thing. You just want to do a guest checkout.
Yeah.
Too much information.
Yeah.
And sometimes a site might not want people creating accounts on the site. Like, they might not want.
Yeah.
So then you can control all of that stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Very flexible.
It is hugely flexible, which makes it difficult to talk about quickly.
Have you? I do have another thing.
Yeah.
Have you tried ECA integration?
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, there's a module. There's a framework. It's called ECA.
Okay.
Event, Condition, Action. it's like for some people that don't know how to program, it's got like flow charts and stuff, and you can graphically write your logic.
Oh.
And there's all kinds of integration. So there's ECA. Yeah, it's like the new rules.
Oh, okay.
So there's like ECA Commerce modules for this, and so if you look, you'll find ECA Commerce modules. So you can kind of like, it gives like site builders super powerful, lots of power. So if your client, you set this up for your client, they want to just control their own logic flows. Like,
That sounds really neat.
yeah, it is really cool. I've been keeping tabs on it. I haven't actually tried ECA, but from what I can tell, it's just amazing. Like they're doing, there's huge amounts of work that's gone into this project.
Oh,
And
okay.
there's all kinds of, there's ECA integration for all kinds of modules. So like, so it's like rules on steroids, basically.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really, but there is still Drupal, the 8 Drupal 10 rules module still works. But I think a lot of people, it seems like there's a lot more momentum with the ECA stuff. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's something I'm going to have to look into.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
For sure.
Is this like supersede recurve?
I beg your pardon?
Is this like, cause I haven't built a commerce site since 2007, and I think I was using recurve. It looked very familiar. Is this replacing recurve?
Oh, I don't
I've seen
know.
it sound like-
So recurve does not
It doesn't exist anymore.
Recurve became Drupal Commerce in like mid Drupal 7. Recurve, but recurve is very, very old. But yeah, it basically rebranded to Drupal Commerce.
Okay.
It's the same people that I help.
It kind of seems like the same sort of idea.
Yeah, it's the same people and the continuation.
Well, there actually is
But they gave it a more enterprising name.
So there is Supercard, but the last update was 2021. There's
Oh,
a
okay.
3x, 4x branch.
What you cut
Yeah,
out?
sorry, I got
So
cut.
maybe,
Okay.
but yeah, I would say commerce is the way to go.
Commerce is the way to go.
Yeah.
And it is like, oh my god, it was so slick.
Oh, yeah, this is really
Yeah,
slick.
did you
Like,
make
this
your
guy-
own